A pleasant good evening to Mr. Demi John Cruickshank. Pleasant good evening, sir. Always a pleasure.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, always a pleasure to have you on. And of course, he's the former chairman of the Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce. First of all, I guess you should be I believe you should be in a good mood because Tobago has been adjudged the third most desirable island at the World Travel Market. Yes.
Well, of course, the whole of Tobago is elated with the results. We were up against some serious competitors. We won some, but we weren't so lucky in the top two spaces. But you know, we are happy to receive in the bronze medal for that category. And yes, Tobago is happy about
yes,
that.
Yes. I mean, when you look at Sri Lanka and Tasmania and Barbados and St. Helena, and of course Cuba and Taiwan plays first and second respectively. So that really should be something to celebrate on the island. With that out of the way, so is business booming? Is the whole tourism machinery moving? Or are we just hearing things that took place over the weekend? True, false? What's going on? You were prepared, of course, for the cruise season.
Yes, everybody actually is prepared for the cruise season. It is very disappointing happen in terms of the first arrival and one of the largest calls to the island. I think the whole situation was handled badly, and it obviously will leave a stain on our tourism product. The whole Caribbean will be looking at us now, even in a greater microscopic way, because we moved our cruise ship arrivals from our 43 last year, and we are now up to 72 or 73 this year, which is close to 100% arrivals in terms of cruise ship arrivals. You're moving from 60,000 to over 110,000 passengers supposed to arrive this cruise ship season. And at the first call to Tobago, the taxi drivers decided that they have an issue that I am sure could have been worked out with Mr. Cavallo, and they decided not to show up on the first day of arrival, which is very, very sad. Very, very sad for Tobago.
Yeah, but why? I mean, we're hearing that because some of them, their faith, they don't work on a weekend, which many of them are from the 7 days Adventist.
I find that is foolishness.
Yeah, I'm sure there had to be prior discussions preparing for the season.
From the information we got is that they met with the secretary they had a stakeholder meeting on the 9th with the secretary for tourism. So if you had an issue, then you're supposed to say, Madam Secretary, we have an issue with Mr. Cavallo. We have an issue in terms of there's some $80,000 payment that is outstanding. And you all could have dealt with it at that point in time, but you cannot wait until the ship arrives and then embarrass the whole island. And then talk about you had some mechanical problem and some people the Adventists. Yes, everybody knows Tobago is the majority of the population in Tobago is Adventist, but that doesn't stop business and trade and commerce on a Saturday. So those excuses by the maxi taxi operators is really and truly, disappointing. And we lost business. $771,000 claimed by Mr. Cavallo was lost for the island of Tobago. And again, the question has to be said, is it that we are ready for tourism or we are not ready for tourism?
Mr. Cruickshank, this is conflicting, right? I'm being honest with you, Tobago is looked upon as a gem in the region. We are talking about the fact that third place, Cuba. I'm sure you've been to Cuba.
Yeah.
I mean, I've flown over and I've seen the beautiful beaches. I mean, oh my gosh. But here it is, St. Helena, Barbados, Tasmania, Sri Lanka, and other places. They didn't come in the top 5. Tobago was adjudged the third most desirable island at the world travel market. And now we are hearing about people who didn't want to drive the maxi. And I mean, you have to ask yourself, and you're right, is Tobago ready? Is Tobago showing this sort of maturity that they understand that they are competing on a global market where tourism is concerned? That's how important it is. I always tell people about what happened in the Bahamas with me. There were so many of us waiting to go into this nightclub. The bouncer came out and said, listen, we only have room for so-and-so. And the Bahamians came out of the line because they understood that tourism dollar. They understood what it meant. They understood what it was meant for: education, healthcare, infrastructure. Does Tobago understand or show that maturity to understand that they are competing with some big tourism guns, and for whatever reason, they seem to be caught up in these trivial petty matters?
You cannot tell me. You have the first call. And what is so heartbreaking? This is the first call of the start of the season, the first call. One of your largest ships coming to call, and you telling me that you could not have discussed an $80-something thousand bill that the Maxi Taxi Association is claiming that Mr. Cavallo has. Look at the bigger picture. You had how much food in Blue Waters hotel you had to throw away. You had people with reef tours. You had people with tours to Liquor Tobago, to be all the other destinations on the north coast and east coast of Tobago was not serviced because somebody felt that we are not going to answer our phones, and did not even have the courtesy to tell the Secretary for Tourism that, listen, we have a problem and we are not going to show up. So the Secretary is on the ship now saying, listen, welcome to Tobago. Tobago is one of the best destinations, the best liquor island in planet. And then we have nobody to move 300 passengers around the island. That makes no sense at all.
And for some reason, as always, there seems to be a silhouette of politics in the background playing out as usual. And it's very unfortunate that they would take this time, where it is, to show that Tobago can deal with their tourism industry, to come and pull this political move. My thing is this: all the places that we beat, as far as St. Helena, Barbados, send those maxi drivers there and bring people from there to come and drive in Tobago, man. We don't have time to waste. We don't.
Mr. Cavallo said, bring maxi taxis from Trinidad to Tobago who need the money. But you know, if you do that, it will cause a big war in Tobago. Because the taxi drivers will say that now you are intruded. But what I'm saying is that you met with the Secretary for Tourism just before the ships arrived in a massive stakeholder meeting. And you could have said then and there, hear what, Madam Secretary, Tobago House of Assembly, we have a problem. Mr. Cavallo has not paid us for however long. And we have a serious problem. And then and there, you could have pulled Cavallo across the coals and said, listen, we need this bill to pay because I do not want anything hampering my tourism product. And what it is that people is going hard out of Tobago to market Tobago, to say come to Tobago, and then a handful of people say, listen, we're going to damage the destination. It is not just staying home.
Yeah.
It is something that is going to damage, because if this catch on in the Caribbean and in Europe and in North America, saying that Tobago is not serious once more about tourism, we will take another dive. We are trying our best to build a brand called tourism, to get some foreign exchange, to get some some pounds to come in the island, and a few handful of taxi drivers, which their point might be valid, but the method of how they did it is questionable.
I agree with you. I agree. The timing was definitely wrong. I mean,
it was wrong.
The world is looking on. The world is coming. You just had a carnival.
Bumper season.
Bumper season. And now, for whatever reason, you didn't want to answer your phone, as the case may be. I think Tobago needs to grow up. It really and truly needs to grow up, and the people need to understand that.
How do you talk secession? How do you talk independence? How do you talk more autonomy when you have a few handful of people who controls a small part of Tobago's destination or destiny? act in this foolish manner. This should have been discussed and this should have been dealt with before any of the ships. And then we are now hearing today on the news that the same president of that Maxi Taxi Association, because you have two in Tobago, is now claiming second cruise ship came in, his members was not allowed to load their maxi taxis. From a business point of view, I would not have loaded their maxi taxis until the association who was there load their maxi taxis first. So they have to understand this childish behavior. You have to put it aside. I'm not saying that their claims are not valid, but I am also saying that you could have used a different strategy in sending your point across. And that is my biggest concern about how the maxi taxi operators dealt with this.
I think retraining is definitely required at this time. And I think when I say that, people need to be educated in the sense that, listen, this is what you're looking for, and you said it. How do you expect to evolve? How do you expect to grow if you are not going to understand the value of what you're doing? And it's not something that you can play around with, and especially when it comes to politics, there's a time and place for everything. But they may have had a valid point, however, the timing was wrong. I want to thank you. So, any closing points? Any closing points? Go ahead.
Well, I just want to say quickly, the carnival was a tremendous success. And next year, we're gonna double the arrivals on the island next year, and we're gonna start to build back the economy of Tobago. So thanks again for having me on your program, and it's always a pleasure to keep talking to you.
Thank you so much. Keep up the good work, my friend. Thank you so much.